Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we're kind of like at the halfway mark of the OP10 meta for the English version of the One Piece card game. We have the EBO2 set coming out in a couple weeks, which kind of changes it a little bit. We have OP11 again in about a month and a half, so I think this is a really good time to just go over my favorite deck lists to play in this current meta. All of these are kind of like a little bit off meta. I don't think they're unmeta or anything else. Like most of these leaders that we're going to talk about have topped, but I do think they need a lot of specific practice and testing and deck building for you to be able to find success for them. So I won't say they're the best decks in this format right now, but if I did play more events and if I had like a big regionals I was grinding for, I would likely take one of these leaders and try to make them the best that I can for this as well. So all of these leaders and many more can be found on my website, 2Eggman Events, which you can find all the deck lists linked here that we're talking about today. I've been really happy with being able to test a lot of this. There's just again so many leaders, so many decks that are viable right now. It's been almost like overwhelming to try to cover as much as I can, and it's a shame that again we are kind of on the downward slope into a new format after this. So but we are going to go through that. Also, spoilers, one of the deck lists we're going to talk about is Marco, which I haven't been able to test this build specifically yet, but this is one that I'm really looking forward to. Today, as of this video coming out, I'm going to be doing a live stream for it, so you can check that out. Chances are, if you're watching this in the first couple hours, I'm live testing this already, so I think it is a strong deck. That this is a top 32 deck list that was from the Paris event this past weekend. We did have Raphael take it to the top 32. It did end up just getting a top 32 finish, but it's a really unique build, and I've been always like a big fan of Marco as a leader in general, right? The leader effect is just absurd, right? Being able to get like a minus 2k against anything on the board is great for removal or even just attacking into it. Being able to draw one card and put one to the top or bottom of your deck just sets up a lot of plays, and just finding a lot of different ways to play this I think is really, really interesting. So again, this is not my build. I'm going to do some more testing, but I would probably play a build pretty similar to this. I have tried more of like the traditional builds of like Marco with the Sanji package, and I think with how much Blackbeard that's running around right now, it just really turns off that ability from this deck. So it's a little bit harder for that matchup. So I do like this more kind of aggressive leaning deck because of it does have a good matchup I think into Blackbeard from my own testing, from what I've seen too. So kind of the idea for it too is that so like Emporio has been like a really good card for the deck to be able to have a 3-drop that sets up a 2-drop just to get some early cards on board, and this gets you some draw later on. Chopper essentially does the same thing, right? You have to run a little bit of a stronger package for it, but it does the same thing. You can also superset this up with using your leader effect. So for example, if you're at 4 Dawn, you can use your Marco effect. You can put like this Tony Chopper to the top of your deck, and then that means that this is going to find the other one very easily. There's also, if you end up going second, you can play Just Shut Up and Come With Us. So what happens on your 2 Dawn turn is that you use 1 Dawn, you use it to put this Tony Chopper to the top of your deck, and then you leave the other one open. So when your opponent attacks into you, use this, you get to play out the Chopper for free, and then you just get a lot of value from that too. So the fact that also there's just an overlap between 2 cost and animals, right? We forgot Richie and Super Spot build Duck Squad. Both of these are very good to be able to play on the board. Also, we play Jozu to bounce this back to our hand to have another 2k. Having a blocker is great, and then Monet is one that we get off the Emporio. I love this card so much. It's super strong. It works really well with their leader, and there can just be some times where you're able to get some things in a range that you're otherwise wouldn't, right? We're playing 3 copies of Marco, which is able to help us out with that one for sure. Also, Tony Chopper being able to put 2 Dawn in this and give something minus 3k is fantastic too. So I like that synergy there. We've got the Ace, we've got the Beckman, and then we also have the Newgate, which we can use this card to get rid of a body against Blackbeard too, because you have our activate main still, which is really great. It's just a card that's supposed to work with Marco, right? With this, you're able to get rid of a 7k on play, which is so good on this deck. And then we have some additional removal in the sense of Seaquake and also Gum Red Rock. The fact that we are able to run like 4 of this means that our Marcos get to stay around a little bit easier. We're almost always going to have a card for the on KO effect, and all in all, I think this is a really well-oiled machine, and I can't wait to do some more testing with it too. So this is one of my favorite leaders in this game forever. So having a more like a newer build to try out and test with, I think is really fun. So I'm definitely need to put some more time as of this recording, but this is definitely always a leader that I need very little persuasion to kind of do some testing and see if it's viable or not. So next up is Lim, and so this was a leader that I I promise I did a lot of, I guess, poor testing at the beginning of this format, and I didn't really find a build that I felt like clicked. Most of the things I did was like have like a little bit of top end, but I felt like I never had time for it, and it was like a little bit greedy to do. And then that's kind of like how it worked out, right? All the builds of Lim that have been topping and winning since the release of OP10 have been more focused on just playing out 2 5 costs every turn, sometimes a Sakazuki and a 5 cost, and then getting value from that, can get like a lot of value in this format too, especially with all the new 5 drops that we have in this deck, in this game right now too. One thing that I will say is that I've been using a little bit of a different package with running the 5 cost Don Quixote Rosinante. I've been really enjoying running this card. The fact that we can use this to be able to get rid of an event from our hand to be able to draw 2 is good. The fact that we get to get 2 open, meaning that we can, keep stuff open for Blast Breath very easy. This card is kind of like a bit of an MVP for this deck right now too. 1 Dawn minus is not super expensive, especially since we almost always ramp every turn. You don't ever feel it, right? You never feel bad playing this defender card if you're able to apply some pressure later in the game with it. And this has been really good, especially like going second. There are some weird times where like I just play something like Sabo for 3 off leader effect, keep 1 open, and if they put like a lot of Dawn on leader to try to get rid of Sabo, I can just blast breath it. I'm going down to 6 Dawn, and then I can still do like a Limb as well as like a Newgate, a Nell, whatever, kind of the situation answers. So I think that's very strong for the deck. And so we are playing like a Rochi, and that's kind of like the reason I started trying to play with Rosinante too. It's the fact that this did get us an event from our deck to our hand, which is normally useless. Most people just use it for discard fodder off the Enel. But the fact that we can also use Rosinante as like a backup copy for Enel, I think is very strong. Gamma Knife has been a very strong card too for helping us get some removal. It's another event that we can discard off Rosinante for just are not in a spot where it makes sense. Which I think is very strong. And then also, because this card has been great in this deck too, I have been thinking about playing 1-drop Law again and having some different builds, because this is a Heart Pirates cards, right? We're able to find it off that, and being able to play like 1-drop Law isn't like a terrible card for this deck either. So I don't know, there's just like so much synergies. There's so many different kind of things you get to do with this deck, and it's been really fun to explore it, do some testing. And I think my only issue with this deck is that even at your best, right, you do kind of have to go first more times than not to be able to get some consistent wins and good progress with, I think, this deck, which is tough to do, I think, at sometimes, but it is something that this deck does, again, kind of need. Some additional cards I do want to kind of mention real quick. Smoker, 5 costs I've been seeing pop up quite a bit. This is great going second because you'll be at 7 Dawn on your turn 3, which means you can play Smoker for 5, use the effect to get 1 back. So you spent 4 Dawn for it, and then you get to use the additional 3 Dawn for your leader effect. So that pops up pretty quickly, and then you get that Dawn every turn. So if you don't like the Rosinante, you can definitely try Smoker instead, and you don't have to run as much of these events that kind of get stuck on the board and are kind of in your hand. So I do think that's something that can help the deck too. And then also this is kind of more for like EBO2, but Hell's Judgment is a really great card if you're playing Rosie, because we're always going to have 2 open if we have the card, which means that we can use this to be able to give 2 things minus 3k power. So if we're playing against specifically green purple Luffy that has a lot of 7k attacks, this can just get out of 2 attacks for pretty cheap, which is really nice. And the fact that even if we don't have Rosinante out on the board, we're able to for 3 play out a body off leader effect, play another one for 5, and then we still have the 2 open for this, which is really strong. So we probably will change into that into future formats, but in general, I've been really enjoying kind of the diversity with this deck, what you get to do. It has a lot of extension and plays, a lot of consistency tools, and really enjoying it too. So last thing I'll say is that this audio is expensive right now. You do not need this one. I do think it's mildly the best 2K in slot for what it is, but it's not obscenely so that if you're just trying out the deck, you don't have to invest in it that much. So don't do it if you don't want to, but again, it is I think a solid card for this deck in general. So there we go. Next up, we've got Usopp, and so we have been seeing like a lot of the more consistent Dressrosa builds doing very well in this format in general, but I've been really enjoying this version of it. This is not my own personal build, right? This kind of build has been really popularized by like the Sakazuki Usopp players who've been playing it, specifically I think like more so in Europe. There's been a very big scene for that too. This was based off of the list again from Paris of Progress or Mirko here. So because of that, I did kind of do my own testing. I made some of my own personal changes for the deck too, but by and large, I think this is a really cool leader that you get so much kind of cool advantage for, right? Like I do think it does remind me a lot of FBO5 or sorry, OPO5 Sakazuki, in the fact that we do have like all these kind of removal plays, these ways to be kind of sneaky. The fact that we just kind of get to the late game, we just get a lot of blockers and get some value from there, I think is very strong. Specifically, like Rebecca, like the fact that we get a card draw when we block with this Rebecca in most scenarios is absurd, right? I think that's something that's very good. I have been liking Sabo. This is a card that I don't think as many people put in the deck, but it's still really good. Like Rebecca Sabo still wins games. Like it still wins games in like OP10, like in 2025. It is still like one of the best combos in the game right now. So I still highly believe in it. I think the biggest issue that I have with this deck though is that there are some times where I don't get as much consistency because my opponent plays around the idea of me drawing cards off my leader effect, right? So, you know, on our opponent's turn, once per turn, this effect can be activated when your Dressrosa type character is removed from the field by opponent's effect or KO'd. If you have 5 or less, you get to draw one, right? So your opponent will either like try to get you at more than 5 cards, or they'll realize that, oh, well, I can just like not attack, or if I do some like baby swings and prevent them from not using their blocker right, then I can get some free value for it. So that's something where I think if people know how to play against this deck specifically, they can really cut you out from a lot of value in card draw, which is a little bit scary. But I do think that, you know, late game you get so much value, right? Monshuri has been a really good card. Being able to use this to get some card draw off your Rebecca, like to get Rebecca back is great as like a mini recycle, right? Also, we can get back with Frankie. So if you do like your block sequencing correctly, you can block with Frankie, let it KO, and then if you do, you can get Monshuri back in a scenario where your opponent is out of attacks, right? Which then you can use this for one. You can get Rebecca that can get Sabo, play Sabo, right? Like the value just keeps going and going, right? So in a deck like this where we want to be able to block, or if your opponent like wants to get rid of our blockers, I think Sabo has been really, really key for the builds that I've been playing as well. So other cards to kind of mention, I know a lot of people play Tempest Kick. I do like Patchwork a little bit more. Just the fact that we are able to search this off of our Dressrosa searchers is really good. The trigger, I think, is better in life than Tempest Kick more times than not. There are obviously some scenarios where Tempest Kick can win you the game, but this being able to draw 2, trash 1 just means that you can really recycle your hand when we do have like a lot of counter or like non-counter in there at times. And then also King Kong Gun. This is just such a good finisher in a lot of scenarios. We have always like 1-drops on the board. It's less about the double attack, but more about the plus 6k, being able to, again, turn our bodies into just attackers, right? The fact that we can spend 3 Dawn to make Leo an 8k attacker means that it's like a 1-drop 5k in this deck at times, which is pretty scary. So I think that's helpful for closing out games. Worst case, you get a draw 2 and trash 1, or sorry, draw 3, trash 2 from your life. And we do have just a lot of ways to be able to discard cards from our hand, from like Leo, from like Sabo, and stuff like that. So I do, again, I almost want to play 2 copies of Sabo. I think it's been really helpful and gets you a lot of value. I do like Solomon too. This helps you out too for getting some cost reduction. Houndblaze also is just like not searchable in this deck. Like it is wholly not searchable for this deck. So it might even just be better to play 2 Sabos just to be able to dig deeper into our deck to help us find this card. There are just so many games where I just never see it because like I get some hard draws off my leader effects sometimes, but most of the time it's like searching off of like Leo and Rebecca that just bottom decks or gets rid of my Houndblazes. So there are definitely some scenarios you can bump this up to 4 copies if you want to see it more often. I think Zoro still is just like a really good removal card for this deck too. I've thought about putting like Kiros 7-drop into the deck. I've thought about like the 6-drops like Secret Rare Luffy from the set too. That could still be good, but I think there's still like a lot of experimentation for this package, and there's some really, really cool combos that you get to do, which I think is fun. So here's the Usopp build I've been using. It's been a lot of fun, and I think Usopp cemented itself as at least viable in this meta. I know a lot of people thought it wasn't viable, even with like the more standard Dressrosa build, but this has been, again, very fun to test out as well. So last deck, this one is a bit of a wild card, but one that I've been like secretly enjoying off camera a lot of the time. It is the PRB Sanji, which This leader's got like such a weird history, right? It was announced for like the PRB. A lot of people said, "Oh, this leader's broken. It's going to break the game. Aggro is here," and then it never really did anything, right? It never really got like high results. People tested it out and then realized that, well, yeah, I could attack something with rush every turn, but then my opponent can just easily remove it. Now are they can just like stop me from getting resources or getting value, and that catches up to me very quickly. So I have thought like, what is the best way to use this leader in this meta, right? And part of the reason I started looking at this leader was because of this Shanks promo. So it's a Dawn ×1 when attacking. You may trash one character from your hand, give it to one of your opponent's characters -1k power during this turn, then draw one. So honestly, I'm like, what is the best leader to take advantage of this, right? We can use it in like Luffy. We can use it in like either Star Deck 1 or Star Deck 21 to help you get the Dawn for it, right? And the more I tested it out and the more I played, I'm like, what if we just gave it to Sanji, right? The fact that we do get the cost, the power reduction is really important. I still think like Wapple's the better card. Like unironically, Wapple's just better. The fact that it's cost 6 costs, but you know your 7k power does more. The fact that it's a 6 cost or 6k, so you can play it off of Zoro, which is really good too. The fact that we can give this card rush even if we don't put Dawn underneath it is really good. And in general, I think this deck just has like a lot of ways to like interact with our opponent's board, apply pressure, and also just get some weird removal options too. So one of the cards I play a lot too is the Sneeko Robin. So this is kind of like a smaller version of Pell, but it's more cost efficient the turn you play it, but then less cost efficient every turn afterwards. So for 5 Dawn investment, this is a 5-drop 6k that can get rid of a 4k body, and for 6 Dawn investment, this is a 6-drop 7k essentially, right? And gets rid of a 4k in attack. So I do like the Robin. It does get some good value, especially since like if you play it with Monet. So if you have 5 Dawn, you can play Robin for 3, Monet for 2. Use Monet's effect to give something the -1k, get the 2 Dawn to Robin. You get the removal of a 5k body, you get a 6k attack, and then your opponent kind of has to realize like, oh, do I have to even go for board, or like what's my best option from there? So I think this deck is really good. It has like a lot of removal power. I really like Silvers in the deck. I know it doesn't get rush, but you don't care. It's such a good card in this meta. Why would you not play it? Newgate also, you don't get the rush because it does have an on play, but you essentially do because you get the Dawn on something. It works really well with cards like Shanks or Wapple, which gives like the -2k or -1k already, and then you can get rid of a 6k or 7k body with the Newgate effect after they attack. So all of that seems just really good, and I think that's really helpful for this deck. And then afterwards you have like the 7-drop 8k, which is either attacking or getting rid of another 5k body, or you can get some combos with some other stuff. So I think Sanji has like some really cool power in this meta right now. I really want to play like this kind of, it's not like not a Shanks deck, but like this kind of more mid-range aggressive leaning red deck. I still think like Star Deck 1 Luffy has some chance to do that too with some similar cards. I think this 3-drop Robin is like a little bit under two, like people aren't looking at this enough. I think it has a lot of value for removing cards, and this has just been a really fun deck to test out and do some playing with too. So also I know that, guess what, I know this card, you know, has rush itself, but I do think it's still worth in the deck. The fact that it gives a Dawn to something every turn is worth it enough. And there's also some like weird turns where I want to be able to play 2 cards with rush in the same turn. So we can play this Luffy for 5 as a 5-drop 7k, and then we can still play Sanji for 3 and have this attack as a 6k or 7k with 1 more Dawn, or even this Brook. This Brook is like a backup copy of Sanji because when attacking, you give 2 rested Dawn cards to one of your leaders or characters, which means you can give it to itself, and then you're able to be a 3-drop 6k essentially, right, on attack. So that's still like really good for really what it is. And being able to get most of these cards off of our like the Zoro, your opponent really can never answer this card because you just get so much value on the flip side if they do. So I think that's strong. But other than that, I've been really enjoying this deck. I think Red has a lot of great cards. I know Shanks has been the de facto good leader with red stuff right now, but I think there's some other decks that can still take advantage of it, and this may be one of them too. So there it is there. But that's really it. I know this is kind of like a shorter and sweeter video, but these are just some decks that I've been doing a lot of testing with. You can find my live streams linked in the playlist below as well if you want to see some more testing with these. But Honestly, I don't play as many regional or like level events too. Usually like once every couple months, but and usually I work more on like the production side or doing something like that. But if I was to enter like a really serious event in this format, I would likely play probably one of these four leaders. They've been definitely my favorite. They're not like underdog leaders too, but I think they're leaders that really reward people for not only creative deck building, but also for just really like grinding them out, knowing what your matchups are, knowing what the meta is, and I think you get rewarded for the time in for it too. So that's going to be it for me. Let me know what your favorite leaders are for the OP10 meta. Let's see what we get for the next couple weeks of these regionals as well, and we'll catch you all next time.